Rural Heritage on RFD TV is brought to you by Rural Heritage Magazine, a bi-monthly magazine featuring articles about farming and logging with draft animal power, small-scale diversified family farming and homesteading, and other aspects of our rich rural heritage. Rural Heritage Magazine, borrowing from yesterday to do the work of today. For subscription information, please call 319-362-3027 or order online at www.ruralheritage.com.
Hi, I'm Joe Mishka. Welcome to another episode of Rural Heritage TV.
Hello, my name is Jessica Meyer. We are at White Chimneys Estate. This is Gap in the Hills, Pennsylvania. And this is my home where I live with my father and children, and we host weddings, events, and celebrations. So this is the oldest part of the house. The little town of Gap in the Hills is purportedly founded by William Penn. William Penn, of course, was a Quaker, our first governor. He made 2 trips to the Americas. In 1698 was his second trip, and he made it all the way out here, met with the natives. He had a novel idea, let's be friends with the natives. He, of course, was a Quaker, and he had a concept called his Holy Experiment, where he invited all the religiously persecuted groups, Amish, Mennonites, Quakers, Shakers, Brethren, French Huguenots, Puritans, to come and settle the land. And this was known in Europe, again, as his Holy Experiment. You could get a piece of William Penn's land. Ultimately, that was called a Penn Grant. But here in Gap in the Hills, the first part of the house is dated at 1720, listed on the National Register of Historic Places in 1975. It was placed with the Lancaster County Historic Preservation Trust in 1998. And we're very proud of this history and are here to maintain the property. We were privileged to purchase it and call it our home in 2006. And things have just been evolving. This was not the plan to have weddings and events, but being on the registry, we have visitors that stop and pull in the driveway, so it became a great way to save the property. Francis Jones was a Quaker from the early 1700s who is credited with building the first part of the house. The house was built in many stages across 3 centuries. We did celebrate our tricentennial in 2021. So we're going to enter the first part of the house here, which would have been the original stone tavern from the 1700s. The next edition was around 1750s. The third edition, the southeastern portion of the house, would have been 1807. Classic federal architectural styling, which is noted on the paragraphs for the National Register of Historic Places. The last edition of the house was 1923. And what I love most about the property is the historical accuracy, and that it tells a story. It tells a story of America. And we just love that. So here you can see the plaques that have been given throughout the years: Century Farm Award, the National Registry. This is the Historic Preservation Trust, and a date on the house, circa 1720, as old as we believe it probably was. Back then, this was actually Chester County. This was not Lancaster County. So you had warrants and surveyors that came out before you got a grant of the land. So no one really knows where the first survey or grant was for this exact piece of property. So let's go ahead in the door here. We do have what's known as an Indian door. That was very common here in the Conestoga Valley. This is our personal space, our home, so bear with us if...
Of course. Can you show me how the Indian door works?
Oh, certainly, yes. So an Indian door, as it was known, had a panel that was a solid panel to protect you from the Indians, the bears, and anyone else that wanted to come. So when danger was coming from the outside, you could get yourself inside the home and slide your panel up. A little bit of humidity here. We're in the 90s right now. And then you had a pin that slid through here, so your door became solid.
Door is gorgeous.
It is. We had to do many, many repairs here to the property, so anything that had to be repainted, we found the original paint colors and really tried to restore it to its original colors. These are the original hardware pieces.
Wow.
So those we did not replace.
Wow.
At one point, we believe there was a squirrel back oven here because we can see it on the stone on the backside. This is no longer a squirrel back oven. It's just a small cabinet for storage. So, yeah. This is a walk-in fireplace. I'm going to move this item here. And you'll see, this is what you did in the summertime. You're able to completely close off. For weather and temperature purposes, you didn't want an active fire here in your home in the summertime. You had a summer kitchen or like the squirrelback oven. So these doors kept you safe once again in the summertime. We do have critters and things that like to come down the chimney. So, but they are very, as you see, we have some droppings. But this is quite real. And we have the arm here, so you had your pots and you did your active cooking in here.
Wow, that's gorgeous.
We do fire this. We do use this in the, actually, interestingly enough, this is probably the best working chimney in the house at this point. There are 11 fireplaces throughout, this being the oldest, and it, of course, works the best. You can stand here and see daylight straight out.
Is this the chimney that has the flat top, whereas opposed to the others have arches?
This is the arch top
Okay,
one.
it is, okay.
Yes, yeah. We always joke around and say back in the 1700s, they knew how to make chimneys and
Right.
fireplaces.
Right.
And by the time you got to the 1920s, those chimneys are already needing to have the interior repaired. So we do fire this up. We have an annual living history celebration. Out of our tricentennial celebration, we had such an amazing response from the community. Probably 2,500 people came, many different groups, Civil War reenactment groups. Historic Rockford has open hearth cookers, so they come and are part of this as well. So they're usually stationed here in this portion of the house for our living history events. We have many items that we collect of historical significance. This is actually William Penn's sons, John Thomas and Richard Penn, who after William Penn passed were credited with divvying out a piece of William Penn's land, the Penn Grant, as I was referencing. We don't have, of course, an exact city on here. The date on this is 1736, and it does list some properties right here in the Pequea Valley.
That's an original manuscript you have hanging up there?
It is.
Wow, that's
It
terrific.
is. You can see the seal here if you'd
Yeah,
like to
that's terrific.
get a little closer.
That is great.
All right, we're going to head into the 1750s portion. So we are walking from the 1700s to approximately 1750s portion. You'll notice the wide doorway because that was an exterior wall. These are fireplaces that we have restored once again. This chimney does work, but we don't burn them all the times. When we first purchased the home, this section was not able to be occupied for about 18 months because the ceilings were sagging so badly and there was a support issue. Wow. So with the Historic Preservation Trust members at that time, we did open up all the way from floor to the top rafter, found the supporting structures that needed to be repaired, and made the necessary supports so that we could then occupy this portion. Some of the things that we found, we left exposed, in essence taking it back to its original structure. If you look up, I'll point out this beaded board, and it's our belief that you would not have had a beaded board if it was not exposed. But when we moved in, it had already been covered up. So we chose to leave this section open so that you could see.
And so that beaded board is probably running beneath this ceiling
Yes.
as well.
Yes.
Sure. And beaded being, is it kind of tongue and groove? Is that how it works?
This was just a decorative
I see.
edge.
Okay.
So you would not have had a decorative edge
Right.
if it was
You're gonna
not,
hide it.
if you're going to hide it, exactly.
Right.
So we believe that it was open. All of these items that you see are our personal items. This is not what the general public gets to see. I do want to point that out because wedding guests like to celebrate, and this is not the best place to celebrate. We have a tobacco barn that we have remodeled, and that is just a wonderful place to celebrate your wedding.
Terrific.
Not in the 1700s
So
portion.
the walking tour, would it include this? No.
The walking tour is a self-guided walking tour on the exterior.
I
So
see.
as you walk at different points in the property, I've taken time periods from the last 300 years and basically referenced the events that were going on in the world at that time, who had a part, and how they tied in here to the property. For instance, General Lafayette. So General Lafayette, as you know, was George Washington's best friend, and who's probably marched right by here. He was 18 during the Revolutionary War. In 1825, President Monroe says, hey, let's have a celebration. It's America's 50th birthday. So Lafayette comes back and does this 24-state tour over 18 months. And there's a committee that I've been part of with the American Friends of Lafayette chapter that is planning a very large celebration and reenactment of his 18-month tour.
Wow.
This begins this month, actually, in some of the northern states, and it'll go all the way the next 18 months. He was here on July 27, 1825. So next year, July 27, 2025, we have a tea that we are part of on his 3-day tour. We also provide the horses and carriages, another topic that we'll talk about because we love that time period, and having carriage reproductions, we have a very large collection. So we'll be delivering Lafayette to several of his stops next year. Other little things about the floor. Now this, we did repair the floor as well. We are blessed to have a very skilled woodworker who does flooring. He's actually finishing a small project in the house, and he'll be stopping by a little later this morning. But you can see how, you know, the nail heads were hidden, and
Yeah.
just an intense craftsmanship.
It's in great shape.
Yeah, so these are, the original floor was gone in this
I
room.
see.
So this is replaced wood
Okay.
that it's old wood from the 1700s, but
Wow.
we assembled this in 2020. We're gonna head through this way. So now you're entering the third section, the third addition on the house. And you'll notice there's a step up because we are going into that federal time period. In the 1920s, there was a large renovation here at the property. They had some wonderful modern items known as electric, indoor plumbing, and concrete. So when we purchased the property, again, we took things back and tried to keep each section true to the time period that it was built. So I love the fact that we live in 3 centuries, and each room is kind of fitted to those 3 centuries as best we can with coding and things like that. So take note as we go in here, it's a theme change because it was historically accurate. That's what happened here in the 1920s. You went on trips to Europe. You got on boats that didn't come back. We're gonna walk through the formal gardens in the backyard, and same thing. You made a trip to Italy, you brought Carrara marble back, you built fountains in your backyard. This is the same time period of Longwood Gardens and the Italianate water garden there as well. So let's head this way.
We now have 4 volumes of America's Rural Yesterday books with photos of farm life 100 years ago. Fieldwork has images of horses in the fields working the ground, planting and harvesting the crop. Barn and Farmyard shows farmers putting that crop in the barn, silo or corn crib and caring for poultry, hogs, cattle and more. In At Home and in Town, farm families prepare Sunday dinner, relax in the parlor, drive to town by buggy or wagon and visit the general store. Finally, Early Tractors has over 250 photos of early American tractors like Alice Chalmers, Oliver, John Deere, Farmall, Minneapolis Moline, and many more. These photos are of new tractors back in the day and show how they were configured coming out of the factory. Buy any of these books for $24.95 plus shipping. When you buy 2 or more, the price per book goes down, all the way to $17.49 per book when you buy all 4. To order, just call 1-877-647-2452 or order online at www.ruralheritage.com. That's 877-647-2452.
So I want to point out the coffered ceiling. This is 1807. And when they did the renovations here in 1923, you'll notice the columns, a little bit Grecian there, but just very elegant. This was an entertaining space. This was not the space that the family lived in on a daily basis. These are original fireplaces. Take note here, all of the fireplaces have tiling or some sort of decorative pieces. Every room had a different color on the tile here as well. The historic dog. We have 4 teenagers, so it's great living in a historic home with lots of teenagers. This is the newest section. So if you notice the arches here, a bit Moorish in their styling. This was 1923, so when they did the addition, this space was actually known as the ballroom because, again, this was their entertainment. This was not the family's everyday living space. As you can imagine, this was difficult to heat.
Sure.
Central air was not added until approximately 2001. So it really
So you have
saw a lot of
forced air
changes.
registers then.
Yes. So they were the bottom layer of this room actually doesn't have a basement. It has a crawl space. So they were able to add central air ductwork from below, so we didn't have to disturb the walls or anything like that. It is heated with a hot water radiator system. We use propane for our fuel, so you notice those are the original radiators as well. We'll head out this way to the front foyer. And I do have items here that I would love for you to use in some manner. Captive's Mansion was a book that was written by Sam Slaymaker II. The Slaymakers were here for 9 generations. They were owners from approximately 1779 through the year 2000. So this was a book about the last generation that was able to be here. These are older pamphlets and postcards throughout the year, magazine articles. This was a great article, August 25, 1967, and it speaks to the property at that time period when the Slaymakers, and literally speaking to the 9 generations and history that was here. Absolutely unheard of to have a formal Italian garden in the middle of Amish country.
Right.
But it's just spectacular, and we love caring for it and being able to share it. At this time in 1967, all of these items were the family heirloom. The artwork was here. Most of these have been donated to lancasterhistory.org, which you can see them in their spaces as well. But just an amazing story of, again, of the house and the 300 years.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
All right, we're gonna head out the front door. Now, one of the fun things about the road is when you landed in Philadelphia in the 1600s, there was nowhere to go but west. So as you traveled west, there was one road. Eventually came out here to Lancaster. So yes, the traffic count is 30,000 cars here today because there really is no other way. You have to go north to the turnpike or farther south if you're going to take 95 to Washington or Baltimore. So just keep that in mind as we step outside.
Should I pull that shut?
Sure. Yeah, it's the humidity is just awful right now.
Yeah.
Stonework, this is all original stone. They did have some additions, as you can see. Here's a little piece of concrete, most likely added sometime in the 1900s, probably to make repairs. But look at this slab across the front here. This is just incredible. And here you can see a change in the stonework because this is the addition that was 1923. So up into here, east of us, was 1807, and then the last addition in 1923. We can step out this way. All of the brickwork down here we repaired as well and used aged stones so that it would be as authentic as possible as we made repairs. I'd like you to see the trees as well. These trees, I don't think are 300 years old, but they're pushing 200. They're just amazing. This is a sycamore here in front. We have a silver maple on the west side.
They're amazing.
They are. I feel like you have to put a quarter or something here for size comparison.
Yeah, it's very hard to photograph.
It is. Yes. So.
This program is available for purchase. To order your copy, please call 319-362-3027 or visit www.ruralheritage.com. Rural Heritage is a bi-monthly magazine dedicated to draft animal farming and logging, as well as other aspects of our rich rural heritage. It is published by Mishka Press, which also offers a complete line of back-to-the-land books, DVDs, and calendars. Call or write for a catalog or subscription information, or visit our website at www.ruralheritage.com.